You are listening to the audio production of Let This Mind Be in You, Exploring God's Call to Servanthood, by James K. Dew, Jr., published by B&H Publishing Group. This book is read by Lyle Blaker. To Tara, the sweetest servant I know. Foreword. By Paul Chitwood, President of the International Mission Board of the SBC. Servanthood. The character that causes us to place others before ourselves, helping where people have need, and finding joy in a life that is focused on others. That definition of servanthood, proposed by Jamie Dew, confronts both contemporary evangelical culture and the prideful heart of every human being. Evangelical Christianity is best known for its celebrities, the men and women who have risen to national and global notoriety through their writings, broadcasts, and conferences. Far too often, these celebrities' personal lives are marked by opulent wealth derived from their ministry, moral inconsistencies at odds with their teachings, or arrogant attitudes that enable them to treat with contempt the individuals and institutions responsible for providing their platforms and fostering their fame. While some publicly feign humility, too few manage to maintain that posture in private. From where does this failure of Christian leaders to model the servant's heart of our Savior come? As the old cliché reminds us, the heart of the matter is the matter of the heart. Celebrity Christians are not, of course, the only ones who struggle with the prideful nature of the human heart. This heart condition is universal to every human being. Sin, at its root, is always traceable to a heart of pride, a heart in love with itself, protecting itself, pleasuring itself, and placing itself above others. Putting pen and paper to the list of my own sins, I have found that the ink of each is always the color of pride. In contrast, Jesus embodied servanthood and called his disciples to follow his example because servanthood is the tangible exhibition of a humbled heart. I intentionally use the word humbled rather than humble. The human heart is never humble until or unless it has been humbled. Any ounce of humility that might be observable in my life, and those combined ounces would not fill a teacup, resulted almost exclusively from humiliation. The human heart is marked by the fall, and the same sin that led to the fall, the sin of human pride, inhabits every heart, since every heart bears the curse of Adam. But God, by his grace, often orchestrates the circumstances of our lives in humiliating ways, ways that foster humility. The pathway to humility, preferred by our Savior, however, is that of humiliating ourselves by assuming the role of a servant. In teaching this truth to his disciples, Jesus recognized the risks. Chief among those risks is that the one who serves would consider himself to have achieved greatness, and thus ironically again fallen victim to his prideful heart. So Jesus, in what I consider one of the most helpful lessons on the topic of pride, references what a master still expects of a servant who has come in from the fields. Using that scenario, Jesus states, "So you also, when you have done all that you were commanded, say, 'We are unworthy servants. We have only done what was our duty.'" Luke chapter 17, verse 10. For humility's sake, Jesus not only calls his disciples to be servants, but in being servants, to constantly humble themselves. I know Jamie Dew well enough to know he would never author a book on humility. Such an endeavor would suggest that he had mastered the topic, or at least that he was running far enough ahead of the rest of us that he could teach us a thing or two about being humble. I've observed enough humility in Jamie's life and heard the testimony of how God has humiliated him for his own good to know he would never make that arrogant assumption. Instead, Jamie has given us the gift of shining the spotlight on Scripture's pathway to humility, that is, servanthood. Jamie will remark in the introduction that this book is a departure from his usual subject matter. His other books, he points out, are philosophical or apologetic in nature. For my
Sample complete. Ready to continue?